Yeah. I mean, this is, when I work with sellers, I always tell them, look, first of all, they say, okay, how much time do you think we need before we get so many orders a day, or before we can? I mean, they don't really say so many orders. How much time do we need before we make money? Well, first of all, define what making money means, and the second, because if you speak to an advertising guy, breaking even for them is generate as much in sales as the ad spend. Well, that's not break even for a business, right? So the making money doesn't mean anything. So let's make it specific. So you're gonna launch. So when you launch, things will happen because you don't know, it's brand new listing, and then you launched it, you've got pictures, you've got video, you've got A plus, whatever, and those things are gonna start to do things for you. And then you're gonna see some numbers settling down and you want to improve them. Then that's where those controllable inputs will start to kick in. And you cannot do too many of those changes, but you cannot do many changes at the same time, like change the pictures, put another video, replace the A plus. That doesn't, you have to do one at a time, right?
Yes, because the problem you're going to run into in the beginning, if you're changing too many of the inputs, you're not going to know which ones. You won't know how much each change contributed to the output you saw, the change. So to your example, right, if you change your images and then you change your pricing at the same time, it's difficult to understand if your sales went up. Did it go up because you reduced your price, or did it go up because you have better content that increased your conversion rate? You don't know. As you get more sophisticated, there are ways of figuring that out. But in the beginning, why make your life difficult? What I would do is typically change one at a time.
Yeah.
And you want to keep the data, because if you change them and don't keep track of the data, then you're just wasting your time. And so I would change one input at a time in the beginning. I would very meticulously track the data to understand, okay, I made this change. Let me look at the output. And by the way, just to say this out loud, to make sure that I'm not making an assumption, because I'm an engineer by training, it's never going to be a very simple connection between input and output, right? You'll change your pricing and the output, your sales velocity will change. But then if you go back to your original price, your sales velocity may not go back to where it was originally because there's some noise in your data. So you want to be constantly collecting this, because as you make these changes and you track your data, you can start to figure out the relationship by essentially washing out the noise. And so that's why you want to make sure that you collect all of your data, you keep track of it, and you're oftentimes changing one parameter at a time to see what the input is on your sales velocity, on your conversion rate, whatever your metric is. As you get larger as a brand, then you can get more sophisticated and you can change multiple inputs, but I would not start there in the beginning.
Exactly. I mean, this is the reason why it takes a while before you can grow a company in a way where everything you are doing is brand new. It has no history. But when you are a large operation, you have history. You have educated yourself in terms of what you do, and then whatever you do, what kind of an impact it has. So that way you go into doing anything in an educated manner. But when you are new, the worst thing you can do is, you said something right at the beginning. When you throw more people at the problem, you are actually putting more time into it. So as a new operation looking to grow, the most expensive thing that you are consuming is time. And the worst way to utilize that time is not by collecting and keeping that data so that you can go back into your history and say, okay, this is what I did and this is what it impacted. And therefore now I want to do something similar. Let's see how it compares. And that's why new companies take a while and they have the disadvantage. And the big ones have that history and they know already and they just simply apply it, right?
I think it's more complicated than that, to be honest with you. Even bad companies sometimes, the reason why small companies beat large companies all the time is because the big companies lose some of that discipline, to be honest with you, in my opinion.